If you've enjoyed my content and would like to see more of it, I'd appreciate it if you could hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you continue to enjoy my videos. Imagine you're deep in the forests of North Georgia. The air is thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. Sunlight struggles to pierce the dense canopy above, painting the ground in shifting patterns of light and shadow. It was in a place just like this, a forgotten corner of the sprawling Chattahoochee National Forest, that a team of forestry workers stumbled upon something that didn't belong. They were marking trees for a controlled burn, moving through terrain that hadn't seen human footprints in decades. The year was 1978, and their routine day was about to become anything but. The crew's chainsaws fell silent as they broke into a small, unnaturally quiet clearing. There, in the center of the clearing, was a stone. But this was no ordinary boulder. It was a massive, dark megalith, half buried in the soil, as if it had pushed its way up from the very heart of the earth. The workers, men who knew these woods like the back of their hands, felt an immediate sense of unease. The birds had stopped singing. The usual rustle of squirrels and deer was gone. It was just them and this silent, brooding monolith. They cautiously approached, their heavy boots crunching on fallen leaves, a sound that seemed shockingly loud in the profound silence that had descended upon the clearing. The stone was colossal, easily 15 feet tall and just as wide, composed of a strange, obsidian-like rock that seemed to drink the light around it. It felt cold to the touch, unnaturally so, even under the humid Georgia sun. Its surface wasn't smooth or weathered by time in the way you'd expect. Instead, it was covered in intricate, mesmerizing patterns. These weren't random scratches or the work of erosion. They were deliberate, carved with a precision that defied explanation. The workers had found something ancient, something powerful, and something that felt deeply, fundamentally forbidden. This discovery wasn't celebrated. It was whispered about. Word slowly trickled out of the deep woods, passed from the Forestry Service to local authorities, and eventually into the ears of academics and adventurers. The site was not put on any map. There were no signs leading to it. The official reports were vague, almost dismissive, but the unofficial stories were far more compelling. They spoke of a stone that hummed with a hidden energy, a place that felt wrong. The legend of the Georgia Glyphs had begun, a mystery born from a silent whisper in the woods. When the first researchers finally made their way to the remote clearing, they were stunned by the sheer presence of the megalith. It was a single, seamless piece of metamorphic rock, darker than any native stone found in the region. Geologists were baffled. Its composition was a puzzle, bearing trace elements that suggested it wasn't from this planet, let alone this part of Georgia. The sheer scale of it was mind-boggling. How could a stone weighing an estimated 50 tons have been transported to this isolated spot, thousands of years before any known civilization in the area had the technology for such a feat? The surface of the megalith was a tapestry of unknown symbols. Hundreds of glyphs were etched into the stone, arranged in spiraling patterns that flowed across its face. They were unlike anything seen before. Not Cherokee, not Viking runes, not even resembling any lost Proto-American script. The symbols were a mix of geometric shapes, star-like patterns, and flowing lines that seemed to mimic biological forms like DNA or neural pathways. They were beautiful, complex, and utterly alien. Running a hand over them, you could feel the clean, deep cuts made by a tool of impossible sharpness and precision. But it was the central emblem that truly captured and disturbed everyone who saw it. In the very middle of the stone, at about eye level, was a large stylized carving of an open eye. This was no simple drawing. It was impossibly detailed, with an iris made of concentric circles and a pupil that seemed to burrow into the rock, creating a dark, empty void. Staring into it gave people a strange feeling of vertigo, as if the eye were staring back, seeing not just you, but through you. It felt like an ancient, all-seeing observer, frozen in stone. The combination of its impossible geology, its immense size, and its cryptic carvings made the megalith an object of intense fascination and fear. It didn't fit into any known history. It stood apart, a silent testament to a forgotten chapter of our world, or perhaps a chapter from somewhere else entirely. Every element of the stone, from its cold touch to the unsettling gaze of its central eye, screamed a single, powerful message. You are treading on ground you do not understand, and you are not welcome here. The challenge of the Georgia glyphs attracted the best and brightest minds. Linguists who had cracked ancient languages, cryptographers who had worked on military codes, and pattern recognition experts from top universities all descended on the mystery. They photographed every inch of the stone, created three-dimensional laser scans, and ran the symbols through powerful computer programs. They compared the glyphs to every known writing system in human history, from ancient Sumerian cuneiform to obscure tribal pictographs. The result was always the same: no match, zero correlation. The symbols were a complete and total unknown. The frustration mounted with each failed attempt. The glyphs seemed to follow a complex logic, a syntax that was clearly intelligent, yet wholly indecipherable. Some researchers theorized it wasn't a language to be read, but perhaps a star chart or a complex mathematical formula. Yet no astronomical or mathematical model could make sense of the patterns. It was a lock without a key, a message without a translator. The stone held its secrets tight, mocking the experts with its profound, unyielding silence, a silence that began to take a psychological toll on those who tried to break it. A strange phenomenon was reported among the core research teams. Many who spent prolonged periods studying the glyphs, whether at the site or from detailed photographs, began to exhibit obsessive behavior. They suffered from insomnia, reporting vivid, disturbing dreams filled with shifting geometric shapes and the feeling of being watched by the stone's unblinking eye. One brilliant linguist, Dr. Aris Thorne, famously abandoned his career after months of fruitless work, claiming the symbols were not meant for human minds. He was found wandering miles from the site, muttering that the patterns were alive and had tried to rewrite his thoughts. The project was eventually and quietly defunded. The official reason was a lack of progress, but the rumors told a different story. They spoke of researchers becoming mentally unstable, of a creeping dread that permeated the entire endeavor. The glyphs were more than just symbols. They seemed to be a cognitive hazard, a puzzle that fought back against any attempt to solve it. The megalith wasn't just a stone with writing on it. It was an intellectual trap, and those who stared too long into its abyss found the abyss staring right back, leaving them changed forever. Long before the forestry workers made their official discovery, the people who lived in the shadow of these mountains, well, they already knew about the stone. They didn't really have a name for it. They just called it the Hushing Rock, or sometimes the Watcher in the Woods. Local families, especially those of Cherokee descent, passed down stories from generation to generation. These weren't tales of wonder, but, solemn warnings. Elders would tell children to never go into that particular part of the forest, a place where, apparently, the animals acted strangely, and the air felt heavy, almost like it was holding its breath. These old legends spoke of the stone's power. Some folks claimed it could heal, but only at a terrible cost, demanding a piece of your memory in return. Others said it was a source of great misfortune, a kind of beacon that just attracted sorrow and loss to the valley nearby. There's one story that always seems to stick around about a hunter back in the 1920s who got lost and ended up sheltering near the stone during a storm. He came back to his village a week later, physically unharmed but unable to speak, his eyes wide with a terror he just couldn't describe. He spent the rest of his days drawing the same spiral patterns he'd seen on the rock, over and over again. More recently, people in the small communities scattered around the area have echoed these old fears. Hikers who've accidentally wandered too close to the restricted zone talk about some really bizarre stuff. Their compasses spin wildly, GPS devices just stop working, and there's this low, resonant humming sound that seems to come from the ground itself. Animals are especially sensitive. Folks say that for miles around the site, birds just won't nest, and deer give the area wide berth. Even dogs brought on hikes will whine and pull back, refusing to go any further. The government's involvement only made the whole thing even more mysterious. After the researchers left, the area was quietly cordoned off. Locals reported seeing unmarked black vehicles on the old logging roads and hearing the distant thrum of helicopters at night. Access was, and still is, strictly forbidden, with stern warnings about federal trespassing charges. The official story is that the area is an ecological preservation site, but honestly, nobody buys it. The secrecy suggests something else entirely. That whatever the stone is, the authorities know it's a lot more than just some historical curiosity. They know it's dangerous. Years after the initial discovery, a follow-up survey team made one last, chilling find. Hidden in the undergrowth, about 20 feet from the base of the megalith, was a smaller flat stone. It was almost completely buried, and it looked like it had been placed there as an afterthought or maybe as a desperate postscript. Etched into this smaller stone in a crude, almost frantic script that seemed to be a modern language, archaic Latin, was a short, terrifying inscription. It read, "Nea perire portum, sonatus tessere debet, do not open the gate. The sound must remain silent." This inscription, well, it changed everything. It wasn't just about deciphering a lost language anymore. The warning suggested that the glyphs weren't just a message to be read, but maybe a mechanism to be activated. Were they a lock, a key, or maybe a set of instructions for some kind of ritual? The phrase "open the gate" sent shivers down the spine of everyone who heard it. A gate to where? Or to what? The sound mentioned in the warning was equally mysterious. Was it the low hum hikers reported? Or was it something else entirely? A sound that would be unleashed if the glyphs were ever spoken aloud. The megalith and its glyphs, honestly, remain a profound and unsettling mystery. It sits in its silent clearing, hidden from the world by a veil of trees and government secrecy. The stone still radiates a cold energy, its central eye always watching over a forest that seems to hold its breath. The stories of strange dreams, of disturbed animals, and of researchers driven right to the edge of insanity. These serve as a powerful testament to its unsettling influence. It's a place that defies our understanding of history, of language, and even of the very laws of physics as we know them. It makes us ask some pretty uncomfortable questions. What if these symbols were never meant to be a record of the past? What if they're a tool, a piece of ancient and alien technology? The warning, well, it's pretty clear. Some doors are best left unopened. Some secrets are best left unknown. Some sounds, honestly, are best left silent. The Georgia glyphs stand as a stark reminder that we are not the only, maybe not even the first, intelligent life to walk